Discapacidad Televisión.
¡Hola mundo!
Primer canal de televisión dedicado al colectivo de personas con discapacidad desde 2006.
Hola, bienvenidos a Discapacidad Televisión. Recuerda suscribirte para no perderte los últimos estrenos y programas en vivo. Danos un me gusta, y así nos ayudarás a conocerte mejor, y saber qué programación es tu favorita. Por favor, no te olvides de compartir, así, más personas podrán disfrutar de Discapacidad Televisión y toda su programación. Muchas gracias.
Bienvenidos a Cambiando el Mundo de Personas con Discapacidad.
Cambiaremos el mundo teniendo igualdad.
Mi nombre es Raquel Quesada y seré la presentadora del mismo. En el programa hablaremos de la no discriminación, la participación e inclusión plenas y efectiva en la sociedad, a la igualdad de oportunidades de los derechos y a la accesibilidad de las personas con discapacidad, el respeto a la evolución de las facultades de los niños y las niñas con discapacidad y sus derechos a preservar su dignidad, la inclusión, la sensibilidad, la educación, la diversidad. En este programa todos los sábados celebraremos la vida de las personas con discapacidad. Que juntos podemos cambiar el mundo de personas con discapacidad.
Si decidieras quitarme todo e incluso no amarme más, si decidieras no perdonarme ni cuidarme, si decidieras no proveer hasta dejar de protegerme, sería yo capaz de amarte igual. Si no vinieras a dar tu vida y darle un rumbo a la mía, si te aferraras a tu grandeza siendo Dios, oh, si no me dieras lo que te pido hasta dejarme en el olvido, sería yo capaz de amarte igual. Desde ya quiero que el mundo sepa que no te busco por conveniencia. Si estoy aquí no es coincidencia, pues eres dueño de mi existencia y yo te amo. Sin entenderlo, pero yo te amo. No se trata de lo que me das ni de lo que haces. Y yo te porque eres mi Dios, te amo porque eres mi Padre, te amo porque eres mi Dios.
Discapacidad Televisión.
¡Hola mundo!
Primer canal de televisión dedicado al colectivo de personas con discapacidad desde 2006. A continuación, Footless EE.UU, más allá de una amputación. Presenta EE.UU BECKWITH. Características de este programa. Audio en inglés. Subtítulos en castellano.
Well, hello there, lovely friends. Before we hop into the full content of today's video, I have a really big announcement, something that the dogs are excited about. Maybe you'll be excited about too. Okay, I gotta talk quickly because they're about to play fight. If you just want to hear the surgery update, skip to the timestamp on screen, but if you have a moment, I would absolutely love to share with you this new project that I'm working on and ask you to check it out if it's something you're interested in. Okay, first the big announcement and then what we're actually here for. The only thing I really don't like about this new socket that I'm trying out is the pin. Like, I take it off to be comfortable and I just feel like a walking weapon. Realistically, we all know this is the greatest threat to me. Like, I try to cross my leg, I stab myself with it, working out the details. So I've been working on a big project in the background for so many months now with my best friend Erin Paulos from Life of Paulos. Totally different genres of YouTube, but we met through jiu-jitsu years ago. And in the last year, we discovered we both have a fascination with how our society sees relationships and the direction that is going in. So we started a podcast, but not just a podcast. That would be simple. We wanted to make it complicated for ourselves. So we started a live streaming podcast that is a panel-based discussion. So we have guests every week. And as of today, we are officially launching the actual channel for this podcast. And it would mean the world to me if you would click the link in the description, check it out, and hit subscribe. I think that there is a lot of really horrific advice circling in the internet ether about what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman, how to have healthy relationships, how we view gender, marriage, sex, masculinity and femininity, and how those interact in our current culture, traditional values versus modern values. I am not an expert on this, neither is Erin, but we're just not jerks, and so we're bringing in people to have discussions on a wide range of topics, specifically because we do not like what is happening in the online space with the rise of alpha male podcasts, the red pill movement, the manosphere. All the episodes are going to be available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Yeah, that's what it's called. Apple Podcasts the next day if you can't catch it live. We made the decision to move that podcast completely to its own channel. It's called the Turbo Dude Podcast. Episode 5, which is the first ever episode that's going to be on that channel, is going to be streaming live tonight. 5:30 Pacific time, which is 8:30 Eastern time. And we'd really love to see you there. I understand that it is a deviation from my normal content. And if it's not your cup of tea, fantastic. I will still be here. But if you would like to give it a shot, that would make me super excited and very, very grateful. So check out the Turbo Dude podcast, link in my description. And without further ado, back to the video that we're all here for. Joining us? It has officially been 6 months since my last amputation side surgery. I wanted to give you guys an update because so many of you were kind enough to come with me through this journey, and this is not an update I want to give because it's a bummer. It's a bummer. But Leo is giving me all of his love. So back in April of this year, I went in for a triple TMR surgery. Basically, I was having a lot of issues with pain, phantom pain, nerve pain. Couldn't really wear a prosthetic for any length of time. Stop being weird. So there's this surgery that they can do called targeted muscle reinnervation, where basically they splice nerves into muscles in your residual limb in hopes of eliminating or significantly reducing nerve pain, phantom pain. I put this surgery off for a very long time, but eventually it got to the point where I was losing my mind, being in a lot of pain, not having like any solutions, and I decided to go through with it. I will link the video about that surgery. It was an extraordinarily difficult experience. I have had probably about 20 surgeries grand total in my life. I'm very familiar with post-surgical pain. Like, I've literally had my leg chopped off twice, and this was worse. There was a lot of mistakes that happened in that process. I was forgotten about for 5 hours after they took me off IV meds and not given any kind of pain relief, and I couldn't get people in. Like, I kept calling, and the nurses were like, oh yeah, we'll get there. I just wouldn't hear anything for hours, and I couldn't get up, and I got to the point where I was like screaming in pain, like hyperventilating, like couldn't breathe, and I was just like left like that for a long time. It was the worst surgery I've ever had. I had a very severe allergic reaction. I was in the hospital for days. A lot of stuff happened during that time that emotionally was really bad. It was the first surgery I went through after getting divorced. So I was like, I wasn't going through it alone, right? Because I had so many incredible friends and like family around checking on me, bringing me food. But like the vast majority of the time after the first couple of weeks, it was just me and Sophie home alone, in a lot of pain, trying to keep my head above water. And I did it. I got through it, and it would be worth it if there was any kind of pain reduction or like more function. And I have to say, this is the only surgery I have ever regretted. Don't love using that word a whole lot, and it's too soon to say that because I am nowhere near being able to see if there are actual benefits that made it worth it. If it's life-changing, and there are, I'll be very grateful for this, but this was a horrific time all around. Because of the way that nerves are, they take a long time, they're very temperamental. And my surgeon told me, you'll know by 6 months, right? Like you might see improvement well before then, but like 3 to 6 months, if it's gonna work, that's when it's gonna start working. It's just been over 6 months, and I can pretty decisively say it did not work. You know, it's funny. I was talking to one of my friends about this the other day, and they asked like, hey, how is it feeling? And I was like, bad. Not good. It didn't work. And they saw firsthand the amount of pain that I went through and how difficult that surgery was. And they were like, well, you know, you took a chance at least you gave it a shot. And I have to say, I agree with that. I have always been of the mindset, for the most part, that if there is a chance that something can get better, I would like to take that chance. With that being said, I think I'm done for a while. And I am functioning out of spite. I have been trying to use my prosthetic leg more. I've been trying different systems, trying a few different things. It's really hard trying to reckon with the idea that something might not change. My dad always told me you can do anything temporarily. Like it is so much easier to deal with difficult things when you know that there's going to be an end date. I think I actually did a whole video about this once or twice, talking about like dealing with things when they're not going to get better, like chronic pain. Right? Talked about how to deal with that. I'm a dirty liar. Not really. Like, I know ways of processing that, but one thing I have never been able to do, in fact, it's the only thing I have ever said, we're not gonna go there in therapy, is trying to sit with the idea that it might not get better, that I am going to be in pain, most likely, the rest of my life, that there will be a slow decline in function, that the prosthetic process will be endless. I will always be making adjustments and trying to get more comfortable, but there's like a limit to how good it's gonna get. And trying to sit with the reality that it's not going to get better is not actually something I have realistically been able to do, because it catapults me into despair and feeling self-destructive. When there's like realistic hope to hold on to, it's a lot easier. But I'm at the point now where I think that is a reality I need to reckon with, because avoiding it is now causing me harm. So that's something I'm working through in therapy and on my own. It's hard and weird, and I think it's one of those things that can translate to so many different experiences that we have in life. Change is constant, but there are some things that won't get better. And I think those are the most difficult pills to swallow. So I am doing my best to invest in things that bring me joy, where the pain exchange is minimal. And I have decided for the time being that that is an exchange I am willing to make. When I feel up to it, I'm going and doing things. I'm being active. I'm going for short hikes, going to the gym, lifting, doing some jujitsu. Because even though there is a lot of pain involved in that, and I am back on pain medication most days, like after 5 p.m. to be able to deal with that, I still want to live life. I still want to do the things I like doing. And you know what? Maybe there's a miracle. Maybe my nerves just take a real long time to heal. You never know what's going to happen. I'm spending a lot of time with my puppies. I've started reading more, like actual books, not audiobooks, like sitting down and reading a book in a coffee shop, which is a lovely experience, by the way. I'm also thinking about going back to school, which I feel really very excited about. If I decide to do that, I'll tell you guys more about it. I am still trying to pursue life in the midst of a lot of disappointment and a little sprinkling of despair. So that is the official 6-month update. Bummer, it didn't work. I'm walking out of spite, and I'm gonna find my way through this, as messy as it might be. Thank you so much for listening. Good morning, my beautiful internet friends. I just wanted to show you real quick what peak athletic performance looks like. This is what I look like the majority of the time. Let's go on an adventure. So I was recently sent the Traxxas e-bike, and I want to take you guys on a little bike adventure today and talk to you about something that's been on my mind. I used to do videos like this all the time that were more like vloggy, follow me around, day in the life, and they kind of went out of style on YouTube, but I felt like doing one today. Step one, you guessed it, put on real clothes for public consumption. Also get my leg on. She's so cute. No one's gonna be listening to a single word that I'm saying. We're gonna do a little something different for today's video. I wanted to take you on a biking adventure, and I was gonna find some like picturesque place to sit down and talk about this thing that's been on my mind. But I got to that beautiful place and there were other people around, and the thought of like doing the influencer thing and setting up a camera and a mic, it just felt like it would be ruining the experience for everybody else. So what we're gonna do instead is I'm gonna take you on the adventure as I am talking about this thing. Okay, something kind of cool about my leg. This is a pin lock socket, meaning all I have to do, push the button, pop it off. And previously I've made videos about having a separate biking leg. I no longer need that. Because I have a pin lock for every day, it's not as like bulky around my knee, and so I am actually able to pedal without having to bring an entirely separate socket, which that is a relief. Fine, Mom. I'll bring my jacket. Do you hear my dogs very upset in the background that they aren't coming with me? Don't make fun of me for the way my helmet looks. It's safe. So a couple of months ago, I made a very knee-jerk decision to move out of Colorado Springs, where I'd lived basically since I was 10 years old. I was in a relationship for a decade, married for 7. The entire time we lived in the Springs, and there were additional traumatic things that happened in that city. And I always took this perspective of, I don't want to leave if I have a bad feeling towards a place, but after one conversation with someone where I was like, I just feel stuck here, right? Like emotionally I feel stuck. I'm gonna do it. And so very quickly I found a place, I signed a lease so that I would like force myself to actually do it. I was genuinely very scared to move for a lot of reasons. I talked about that in my moving video, but it was, I think, the best single decision I have ever made for myself in recent years, because oh my God, I have been able to start actually breathing for the first time, I want to say in decades. One of the many things I like about this Traxxas e-bike is that it has that throttle, so that especially when I'm like getting started, right, I can just hit that throttle and then like find my balance, get pedaling from there. It makes a surprisingly large difference in the ease of getting started. I, like many of us, have always had a very complicated relationship with my emotions. I learned at a young age, suppress those suckers, right? You don't want to feel things. Feelings are scary, they're dangerous, they're bad, don't do it. Just say no, which led to some very unhealthy and somewhat dangerous coping mechanisms throughout my life. And in the past couple of months, with the help of therapy, for the actual first time in my life, I've started feeling emotions without judging them or always trying to intellectualize them. And one of the most interesting things to me is that everything has been so deeply bittersweet, and I think that's something I used to fight. Like if I was in a good situation, I'd be like, I should be happy, I'm judging myself for not being better. If something felt a little sad, I might completely dive into like the depths of despair. And in this process of making peace with what I feel, everything feels bittersweet, and I've begun to actually grieve so many things that I think I desperately needed but had no idea. Having to walk away from a relationship that I thought was forever, I invested every bit of my being into. I did everything that I could. There is so much to mourn. There is so much sadness. There is so much anger. There is so much confusion at times. And moving away from all of those memories, having some space even from people who I love very, very dearly, but we're so entwined with all of that, I've begun to feel happiness that is just happy. I've begun to actually process things. So I just stopped to adjust my seat height because it felt a little low. I was like on the side of the road, I was pulled off. Plenty of room, but 2 different bikers were like, hey, are you good? Hey, are you good? It's so lovely when people are nice and watch out for each other. It is turning into quite the beautiful Colorado day. All right, so I made it about 15 miles so far. We're in a pretty little dirt bike path, and I no longer hate myself for having emotions. I think this is so, like, this sounds so hypocritical for me to say out loud, because I have always very much promoted feeling things publicly, personally, whatever. I think the reason for that is because I struggle so deeply with that in myself. So I preach it very loudly. It's okay to feel things. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay to take a break from life for a while. You know, be angry. That's important. All of that. But in reality, like 32 years of my life, I've just hated myself for feeling things deeply and like denied that. And it is absolutely life-changing to be able to be really angry and feel that fully and be like, I am friggin' pissed. And then it like actually moves through my body. I don't have to do anything about it, right? I don't have to act out in anger, but I can be mad and be lifting weights and be thinking all kinds of angry things, and it doesn't make me a terrible person. And then maybe 20 minutes later, I am genuinely happy about something without it all feeling so diluted because I'm not denying myself feeling. So I recently started weight training again, which is something I very much enjoy. However, I do find it extraordinarily annoying that I'm now hungry 24/7. Like I can't go 2 hours without eating something, I feel like, which is why I bring protein bars everywhere. I wanted to talk about this. It feels very self-indulgent, right? Being a YouTuber is pretty self-indulgent sometimes. But to encourage you, if you are someone who resonates with anything that I said, allowing yourself to feel things, even if it's for 2 seconds at a time, that might extend to 4 seconds next time, right? Even if it's in little pieces, I think is such a vital part of our human experience that not many of us are taught. Giving yourself mental space, feel that, acknowledge it, grieve it, be mad about it, cry about it, I believe does allow us peace on the other side. And I have begun to experience peace in my life since moving and since doing some of this work for the first time ever. It's revolutionary for me to actually feel okay while also being deep in grief and deep in anger and hurting, feel safe with myself. That's a new one. One of the things that I find bizarre about being an amputee is that if I'm cold, right? If I'm a little chilly, it's like 40 out, it's not bad at all. I don't even need a winter coat. But my legs are a little chilly when I'm biking. And there's something about phantom sensation that gets wonky with temperature, where if my meat leg is like a little cold, right? My non-existent phantom foot will be ice frickin' cold. Fully immersed in an ice bath, just freezing. So as I'm pedaling, it feels like one of my feet is like getting frostbite. Thankfully it's not, because it doesn't exist. There's some quote from a movie that's just been ricocheting around my head that goes, we cut off so much of ourselves to be rid of things faster. The idea that we're hacking off emotions and hacking off pieces of ourselves because it's uncomfortable, because it's difficult, because we want to be through it, we want to be done, we want to be better, we want to not feel this way. And in doing so, we disable ourselves. We deny ourselves humanity. Feel the things. Ask for help. Connect with people. Be vulnerable where it is safe for you to do so. That's what I've been trying to practice. It's been working very well. And we are safely back home. I did underestimate how cold like 38 degrees feels when you're moving in the wind, because by the time I got back, I could like not feel my fingers. Lesson for next time. Also, I just want to say a quick word about the e-bike that I'm using. Thank you so much to Troxis for sending that to me, for sponsoring today's video. If you have ever considered getting an e-bike, I would highly recommend you check them out. Link in the description. The model that I have is their fat tire. It's the Lynx one. I'll put the link to the actual one that I'm using in the description as well. But if an e-bike is ever something you've thought about getting, whether you are an adaptive biker like me or not, I think they are absolutely amazing. I could not bike without them because, as you guys know, sometimes my leg gets a little finicky, gets a little painful, and I get really scared of being stuck places, stranded on the road somewhere, and using this e-bike makes me feel safe because it is assistive pedaling, so if I want to pedal, it's going to help me with that. And if things go to hell and it's way too uncomfortable, I can literally just throttle all the way home. This bike in particular, I believe it has at least 33 miles of just pure throttle, no pedaling necessary. As someone who really likes biking, I think they are the bee's knees. Now I know real bikers don't like them, but I am a-okay with that if it allows me to still go outside and do stuff. Thank you so much for going on. About a month ago, I hit this like major milestone on YouTube of 1 million subscribers, which was like cool. And I called my friends and family and was like, hey guys, this is awesome. And I'm so grateful to my audience, and was trying to plan to do something with you guys to celebrate. And then the next day I had a stroke. That still feels so weird to say. And when I like try to sit with that reality, it still feels weird. I'm alive, which is super cool. It did affect a number of different parts of my body. Long story short, it happened in jiu-jitsu. It was like a super freak accident that apparently I like tore vessels and arteries in my neck, and that caused a stroke at the back of my skull. So it didn't affect like one side of my body like you normally think of when you hear a stroke. It affected like balance and coordination, vision, definitely clarity of like thinking, speaking. I have a hard time using my hands. It's just like a bunch of weird stuff. Like I'll stutter a lot. It's a lot of different little things, and there's still a risk until the vessels heal in a couple months that it could reoccur. So I am not allowed to do anything. I'm allowed to go for short supervised walks where I can like, I'm talking like 5 minutes and I'm done. Like the world is spinning. This was a really terrifying thing to go through, and I think that is still setting in. I actually need help. I've made videos in the past being like, you know, asking for help is hard, and like it is, right? But now I am at a place where I can't exist really without the help of other people. And I'm working on like just embracing that and letting people take care of me and love me and like bring me food and take me outside like a toddler. I've got a lot of physical therapy and speech therapy and occupational therapy. This is hard to go through, but I know I will come out the other side. Don't wait. Strokes are really scary, and when I had it, I didn't know what was happening. The people around me had no idea, so no one called an ambulance or brought me to the hospital or anything. I just went home. I thought I'm being over dramatic, you know, nothing like that. Was a crazy, awful experience, and I feel all wrong. But it's probably just a migraine, you know? Maybe it was just a panic attack, even though it didn't feel like that. I have this habit of feeling like maybe I'm making a big deal out of nothing all of the time. And so I waited, and that was a bad thing. I waited way longer than I should have. If you think something is happening, please love yourself enough to go to the hospital and not wait. On a lighter note, a big part of healing from strokes is learning new things. And like I said, like keeping my hands got impacted, and so learning to do things with my hands like helps rebuild those neural pathways. So I wanted to show you guys something I made, because as I've been able to, like throughout the day, I've got a little spot over here on the couch that I've set up where I will sit. And my friend sent me things to learn to knit, because I've never knit before, and I've been crocheting a ton because I never learned to follow patterns. And so I made this. Check it out, guys. It's like a whole sweater or a cardigan. And I made it. It took a very long time, but I'm very proud of it. So I've been keeping myself busy, keeping my hands busy at least, listening to audiobooks, things like that. I also wanted to ask for your help for anyone who feels inclined. It's a very weird thing to say to a camera. I set aside savings a long time ago for medical emergencies when I was able to, because I knew my life and I knew that, you know, something might happen. I mean, I'm so grateful that I was able to do that, but the last year between my leg surgery and my neck surgery, that took a hit. And now with the medical bills of being in the hospital and ICU for days and then not being able to really work, things are very financially difficult and are going to be difficult. I put the link to my Patreon in my description. I can't promise any extra content or behind the scenes or any additional benefits like I normally would, because I'm not physically capable of that right now. But if you would like to and have the means to, that is there. I don't know when I will be back to YouTube or making videos, and honestly, I don't know what that will look like. There's a lot of question marks about the future. I'm really grateful to have survived this. I am being very diligent to follow all of my doctor's orders, to not do anything, to not lift anything over like 5 pounds, to be supervised if I'm walking, like all of that. I'm very committed to this, going through this recovery the best that I can and focusing my energy on that. And with that being said, I'm gonna go lay down with my puppy dog. Thank you so much for listening. I hope to give you more updates soon. I imagine the easiest place for me to put any kind of update is going to be the community tab here, my Patreon page and my Instagram. So if you want to follow along any of those, that's probably where future short-term updates will be. And hey, who knows? Maybe magically my recovery will accelerate far beyond anyone's wildest dreams, and I'll be able to be back in front of a camera and making content and working soon, but we'll see. Thank you again for listening. I love you guys. I'm thinking about you. I'm so grateful to be here, and I will see you guys in the next video, whenever that is. Please take care of yourselves. Until then, bye guys.
Discapacidad Televisión.
¡Hola mundo!
Primer canal de televisión dedicado al colectivo de personas con discapacidad desde 2006.
Hola, bienvenidos a Discapacidad Televisión. Recuerda suscribirte para no perderte los últimos estrenos y programas en vivo. Danos un me gusta, y así nos ayudarás a conocerte mejor y saber qué programación es tu favorita. Por favor, no te olvides de compartir, así, más personas podrán disfrutar de Discapacidad Televisión y toda su programación. Muchas gracias.
Hola, bienvenidos a Cambiando el Mundo de Personas con Discapacidad.
Cambiaremos el mundo teniendo igualdad.
Mi nombre es Raquel Quesada y seré la presentadora del mismo. En el programa hablaremos de la no discriminación, la participación e inclusión plenas y efectiva en la sociedad, a la igualdad de oportunidades de los derechos y a la accesibilidad de las personas con discapacidad, el respeto a la evolución de las facultades de los niños y las niñas con discapacidad y sus derechos a preservar su dignidad, la inclusión, la sensibilidad, la educación, la diversidad. En este programa todos los sábados celebraremos la vida de las personas con discapacidad. Que juntos podemos cambiar el mundo de personas con discapacidades.
Discapacidad Televisión.
Hola mundo.
Primer canal de televisión dedicado al colectivo de personas con discapacidad desde 2006.